It seems most people really dig in deep for ghost stories of the paranormal in October. And luckily for you guys, there seems to be countless stories to choose from. Here are 9 stories of people who experience something they just can't explain. Enjoy. I was at home sitting on the couch with a friend of mine, and my mom left to go to the store. We were hanging out doing nothing in particular, and my friend fell asleep sitting up. So I took a picture with my new camera and showed it to him. "Ah, you fell asleep, what a doofus." Something to that effect. 2 weeks later, I'm going through my pictures, and I'm looking at it and I realize that someone is in the other room just 10 feet away. Even weirder is that this person has the same posture and figure as my mother. Same haircut, short and spiky. And whatever the thing was very dark and facing the camera, because the eyes caught my flash like a cat's. Just 2 bright dots. The figure was in the brightest room in the house, so there's no reason it should have been so shadowy. I showed my friend in the picture, who knows my mom well, and I don't say anything to him except, "Who is that in the dining room?" Very typically of my friend, he says sarcastically, "Your mom. My God, don't you know your mother when you see her?" Duh, I remember she wasn't home when I took the picture, remember?" And he just says, "Yeah, you're right." I didn't push it any further because I know he's a little superstitious and he seemed a little nervous. I looked at the picture constantly, trying to figure it out. When I was 12, I was on vacation with my parents. I left the room to head to the pool by myself. On the elevator ride down to the pool, a man entered the elevator. He didn't look at me. He just said the name of the town and state I lived in. South Attleboro, Massachusetts, without even looking at me. I was about 1,000 miles from the town he spoke of. I, being young and a little naive, said, "Hey, how'd you know?" Silence, until we got to the ground floor. He just said, "I guess you just sort of look like it." He was probably 50, wore sunglasses, indoors, looked ready for golf. I told my parents, and they wouldn't let me go anywhere alone the rest of the vacation. I never saw the man again. I wasn't wearing any clothing that gave my hometown away. Just wearing a Blue Devils basketball hat and a Jordan Bulls jersey. One summer, my brother went to Ghana and came back with a bunch of souvenirs. He went back to school and left them all with my parents. My parents used to live in a 2-story bungalow, where my brother and I had bedrooms in the basement directly underneath theirs. One night around 2 a.m., I woke up to hear heavy footsteps right above me. I tried to ignore it and go back to sleep. Because he was such a loud snorer, my dad would sleep in my brother's room as well. In the morning, my dad asked my mom what she was doing walking around at 2 a.m. She denied that she was, but I backed my dad up because I heard it too. She continued to say it wasn't her. And the next night, same thing. Heavy footsteps at 2 or 3 in the morning. My dad and I attempted to recreate the footsteps using hard steel boots, but nothing came close to the sound. I started having weird dreams. In them, I felt awake and would see a big dark figure in the middle of my room that would never move closer to me. Then, it would reach out to me. I would wake up to more footsteps. Once I had friends over after a party, who all between 2 and 3 a.m. asked if there was someone in the house. I couldn't really give them a response other than, "Oh yeah, those are just the ghosts." Finally, we decided to move all the souvenirs my brother brought back, which included 6 African masks. When we really looked at them, there were a few that were terrifying. really demonic looking, so we put them in the garage. This is what really got me. For the next 2 days, birds would fly into the glass of my parents' bay window in their bedroom and die. 15 in total. It only stopped when my dad got rid of the masks. When I was about 9 or 10, some of my family was in town, so naturally, I had to give up my bed and sleep on the living room couch. At some point during the night, I woke up abruptly, only to find myself staring at a small boy. The kid was probably a little younger than I was at the time, but the problem was, I could see right through him. He looked like what I would describe as an early 1900s paperboy, complete with a hat and socks up to his knees. He was glowing a bluish color. He didn't say anything to me, nor I to him. I just laid there looking at him, and then he was gone. I never saw anything like that again. Not in my house. Not ever. For 2 years, my mother had a recurring nightmare in which the mirror at the end of the room, facing my parents' bed, would turn transparent, and there would be a man standing behind it. While redecorating, they removed the mirror from the wall to find a hole behind it with a small empty room leading to nowhere. Got lost with my girlfriend driving at night in Waco, Texas. Roads were deserted. No people, no cars. Then saw one lone person standing on the corner as I made a turn. I heard a friendly male voice in the vehicle, as if sitting in the back seat, say to me, "You're going the wrong way." I noticed I was indeed going the wrong way on a one-way street, so I did a U-turn. The road took me directly back to the main highway. I asked my girlfriend a bit later if she heard the voice too, at which point she burst into tears because she had been so freaked out by it, she thought she was going insane. When my wife was 6 years old, she fell into a well. She couldn't climb her way out and started to cry. She heard a girl's voice tell her not to worry and directed her to a group of stones that were jutting out far enough for her to grab hold. The voice told her to climb out, and she did. When she got out, there was no one around, and she ran home. Told the story to her mother, only to find out that a little girl had drowned in that same well many years ago. I used to live in a house that had weird things happen. Curtains moving, things not being where you left them, remotes ending up in places that were impossible to reach, but never anything violent or harmful. But one week, things started to feel different. The whole house started to feel uneasy, which was a new feeling despite the weird activity. One day, my stepmother and I were alone in the house and started to smell burning matches, which is an incredibly distinct scent. We walk around trying to find out where it was coming from, and she eventually finds the source in the pantry. There was a small pile of burnt matches, 10 inches wide, 3 inches high. We were alone in the house and were watching a movie together. No way it was either one of us, and the kitchen was just off the backside of the living room, so we would have heard if someone was there. Nothing nearly that profound happened again, but you can bet that we were out of there when the lease was up a month later. When I was 16, I was home alone, and suddenly felt the need to check the doors were locked. An overwhelming urgency I have never felt before. I walked quickly to the front door and turned the lock. And just as I did, a man appeared on the other side and tried to open it. Thankfully it didn't, because I had just locked it a millisecond earlier. I could see him because our door had a large panel of partially tinted glass. I'm not sure if he saw me. He immediately turned around and walked away. Who the fuck was he? He was early to mid-20s, very well-dressed, black suit. He didn't try to knock. He just tried to open the door. Never saw anyone like him again. Well, what about you? Have you had an odd experience that defies any logical explanation? Maybe. You should double-check your doors and windows right now. If you have a story you would like to share, email me at DuchessDark676@gmail.com. See you next time.